Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting of the Logan County Commissioners to order. Today is Thursday, May 31st at 9 o'clock in the morning. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, go to item 3. Any citizen desiring to be heard? Open it up. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4. Consideration and possible action on approving minutes of May 15th, 2018.
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes without objection. Item 5, consideration and possible action on awarding bid 2018-19 resurfacing Cooksey Road that was tabled from May 7th, 2018.
After looking over all the options, I feel that Haskell Lemon option 2 is going to be the best and the lowest bid for us. It's for 3 miles, it's $396,102.50. And I'll move that we approve option 2 for Haskell Lemon.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 6, consideration of possible action on awarding bid 2018-20 on fire apparatus for Cashin Fire Department, tabled from May 15th, 2018. Sir, you got the floor.
After consideration of the bid, we decided to go with Chief Fire and Safety for the design of the apparatus and the pricing.
Okay.
Is Chief the lowest?
I'm not sure if it was the lowest or not.
Normally, if it's not the lowest, we're going to request a letter from the fire department saying that y'all think that's the best bid for the fire department.
I have a letter from Chief that basically just says that after we thought about it, it was the best option that we had.
Just to make it clear for the board, Chief Fire and Safety is $44,976. Emergency fire equipment was $42,492.70. However, Chief Fire indicates their estimated time to complete is 60 to 90 days, and emergency fire equipment is 120 to 150 days.
This is actually a really nice statement, but it doesn't say why. Right. So we're allowed to pick the lowest and best, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be the lowest, but it's the best, lowest, and best bid, right? So the best price, you start with the lowest price and you work your way up. If that's not the best for your fire department, if it's not the best solution, right? If it doesn't fit your needs, then you go up to the next highest bid, right? And you pick that, but you need to be able to write down why.
Okay.
And we don't mind doing that, but we're gonna need something back from you guys on why you picked that one in particular. Okay? Everybody good with that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What's your name?
Clinton Moore, M-O-R-S.
Thank you, Clayton.
And just so I have it clear here, Clayton, if the board doesn't mind for a second, you're taking this as the equipment itself is better for...
The equipment in the set they have is what we felt would be a better fit for the truck and for our fire department.
Okay, so what they offered fit the chassis better.
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. With no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection.
You will need to get a requisition to the purchasing office so that they can get that placed.
Okay, moving to item 7, consideration and possible action on awarding bid number 2018-21 for resurfacing of Pine Street, tabled May 15, 2018.
All right, we looked through these bids and we decided on the option, I believe it's 2 for 3 inches of asphalt, 300,000 by Atlas Paving,
It's 309,000.
309,000.
For how many miles?
2 miles, plus about a quarter, about 2.25 miles is what it comes down to. So, yeah. So I make the motion that we accept Atlas, award this to Atlas.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. All right, moving on to item 8. Discussion and possible action concerning the implementation of House Bill 2527, which allows county employees who work in the courthouse or annex to conceal carry a firearm while at work if they are currently licensed under the Oklahoma Self-Defense Act. The Logan County Board of Commissioners will be discussing the implementation details and additional employee training requirements prior to concealed carry approval with our county sheriff for the courthouse, the annex, the courthouse grounds. Implementation target date would be, the earliest would be November 1st, because that's when the law goes into effect. So with that, I'll pass out that's the language of the House bill. We've had a meeting with our county clerk, the sheriff, and Hudgens. I'm sorry I butcher your last name every time I try and pronounce it, but I hope I got it right. On the training and the requirements and kind of what our thoughts are. As far as who gets the carry in the courthouse, and I think in the annex and the areas, I think the process that we talked about was the elected official responsible for that person would get the request, and they would send the request to the sheriff's office. At that point, make a determination whether it's just for the annex or for the courthouse and that sort of stuff, because the sheriff has purview over approving everything that goes on in the courthouse as far as security, according to this and according to this statute. The Board of Commissioners is responsible to approve the annex and grounds. So that's kind of where we're at on that. And with that kind of introduction, Sheriff Devereaux, if you'd like to say a few things.
Well, basically with this law coming down, it's my intent not to deny anybody's opportunity to protect themselves on county property, but it's going to be a way to put things in place to make sure that everybody is what we feel to be proficient in the environment and understand the responsibilities and liabilities of carrying inside the courthouse. We're also going to take some other measures that I don't want to discuss on camera for some of those employees. But Don's the guy that is our firearms guy. He's put together a pretty good training program. Because a lot of the things they don't teach you in your SDA class is how to draw from a holster and some basics. You get your gun, you shoot a target, you go home. So the thing that we're wanting to do is really teach them the basics of drawing from a holster, some weapon retention stuff, and just some basic things that we think is important to us when you're carrying a weapon.
And that is in line with the statute where the sheriff can require additional instruction or training before given authorization to carry. And that makes sense. I think we all, at the little discussion we had, agreed that the more training, the better, especially in a public environment like that, because it's hard to call back a bullet once it leaves that muzzle. And we want to make sure that we give all of our employees the best opportunity to handle a situation that comes up in the safest manner for everybody involved. Any other discussion?
So I guess Don's got a little class put together or something.
Yeah, Don, if you'd like to talk about that.
This is a lesson plan. This is been revised recently. The man who wrote the original lesson plan here used to be the firearms training coordinator for CLEAT. And this particular lesson plan has withstood court review and things like that. We're basically using this as a basis. This is a 40-hour lesson plan, but we're talking about doing like a 16-hour, 2-day training course because we don't need to be showing them how to be police officers. We just need them to be able to handle their weapons safely, be able to hit what they shoot at close range and things like that. So we're going to do away with the qualification course that goes out to 50 yards, keep it within probably 7 yards. I have a copy of this for everybody if y'all want it.
Yeah, sure.
And so,
Thank you, sir.
sorry I didn't have time to put it into a binder, so I just stuck a paper clip on everything.
Always thank you.
And you want to? But yeah, it's basic gun handling skills, how to present from a holster, how to hit a target at a close range, malfunction drills, reloading drills, just basic stuff, entry level. All of the professional shooting schools that are available to civilians in the country that I can find, their shortest class is 16 hours. That's their entry level class, and that's basically what this is. Nobody teaches less than a 2-day class as far as, and a lot of them offer additional training. That's the first class you take when you go to their school, and then they offer additional 4- and 6-day classes after that, after you've completed that initial training. And so to me, that's kind of a basis. There's a lot of consensus nationwide that that's kind of the stuff everybody needs to know to get started and being competent in defending themselves with a handgun.
So I'm assuming this training will be on their own time, not county time.
No, I think
It's just a question.
I think it's a matter of line of duty. If something happens, during that training.
I think that's a future discussion when we get this all hammered out.
Right. One of the other points of the future discussion was we were also talking about along with this, in conjunction with this, is we start issuing our employee ID cards at the same time. So
I've got some calls out because along with the discussion of the ID cards became the RFID type stuff. So I started looking, if we're going to do that, we need to tie it into the new key card locks we had talked about. So I'm trying to get all of that all in one.
And the thing is, too, is if you know that we're going to go to an RFID system, you can buy the cards now that will how to work on RFID. You just have to go in and put the numbers to that specific card. It's a pretty easy process.
We have 2 companies that are not only on state contract, that are GSA and every other purchasing cooperative out there we have options in Oklahoma City. I've sent emails out to them, asked them to set up a meeting to what it would take to put all this in place. I haven't got that heard back, but if one just kind of flows to the other, so kind of put it all together at the same time.
okay. So again, as far as the implementation details at a high level, we talked about that the elected official, whoever that is, would be the one that would receive the request from the employee. That elected official would forward the request to the sheriff. Now, the way the law is written, it breaks up the responsibilities between the sheriff and the board of commissioners. However, I think that's kind of confusing, and what I would want to talk about is that we, as the Board of Commissioners, would also send, because there's technically for the annex, there's no training requirement required here because the Board of Commissioners can approve it on their own. The sheriff controls, what goes on at the courthouse. But I think we should have one standard for all of this, for all of our employees. And so I think that we should have one process as well, whether it's the annex or the courthouse, and then that way nobody gets confused. They all get the same training, and so we've limited our liability on that part as well. So I would put that as a motion, is that we combine this all into one process where the elected official receives the request from the individual, forwards it to the sheriff for processing and approval, and then back to the county clerk, who acts as our human resources officer, to record that and start that process. Is that what we talked about?
Well, there one little twist there.
Okay, help me out. It's been a day or two since we talked about that.
I think the employee needs to go to their elected official, and the elected official can send we've got to get the copies of their license in and all of that. That'll stay in their personnel files that we keep, and also go to the sheriff's office. So I think actually the easier might be to get them to us first. We make sure we've got all the copies that we need of all the licensings, the waivers that are going to have to be done, and then we'll drop them in the sheriff's folder to process on that side.
Okay, I agree that would be quicker. Does it take the elected official out of the loop?
No, the elected official's going to sign the initial, this is what we want to do.
Okay.
So we're going to create a form. I have not had a chance to work on it.
So I was just wondering about, if you have an employee that goes directly to the county clerk to fill out the stuff and start the paperwork before they talk to the elected official. Or did I misunderstand?
Yes,
Okay.
I think in my mind, I'm thinking the elected official has the form. They're going to sign off that they approve of this employee going through the process.
Right.
They're going to hand it to the employee. The employee's going to bring that form to us, where we're going to collect all the licensing information and the waiver,
And then you
attach it for the sheriff.
Okay.
And then we have all the copies in the file that we need.
That makes sense.
Well,
Sure.
just something may come up from time to time, and this may be the what-if department, but if an employee submits a request through their elected official, the elected official says no, gives it back to them, is there going to be an appeals process or because that's,
I think based on the statute, since the ultimate authority to approve it is with the sheriff, if you had an elected official that said, I don't want to, I do think that at that point there should be a sit down
Okay.
and a hammer out as to the who and the why. And
I just want to make sure we're going to have something in place for that.
yeah, I absolutely think that would be the proper, because the elected official actually doesn't have the authority here in the statute.
That's on me.
But I think from the discussions that I've had, we would want the elected official to be a part of the process. I mean, I think every one of them should know who in their office has
Well,
got
that's-
done.
So I think that, if an elected official has some kind of issue with their employee carrying a handgun, and they've already passed the Oklahoma Self-Defense Act, the background checks, and had the training and has a license issued, there needs to be some real reason why.
Justification.
I mean, and I agree, Sheriff, you would be in a position to look at that and
Well, that's sidebar conversations.
yeah.
Well, just because they got a license, though, don't mean 3 years down the road and something in their life ain't changed.
Well, that's one thing that we
absolutely.
talked about is basically when we would receive one of those, me as the sheriff, is I would do an internal check to see if we got anything current that could prevent or could, raise a red flag. We're going to do our due diligence to ensure that we're doing everything we can to ensure the safety of the patrons that come in as well as employees.
And if we're gonna make some rules and guidelines on this, I think it needs to be with our drug policy as well. I mean, it needs to be a part of that license,
Meaning,
meaning they gotta be random checked.
If they're carrying a firearm,
If we're
Well,
gonna
I think
approve
the county can do that anyway, can't they?
I think so.
we have.
I just think we ought to have that in there.
But I mean, everybody
So
that
you
carries a
want-
firearm in your shop gets checked, right? I mean, and there's a reason for that.
Like
so
all
you
our
want to
CDL
add in that if they are carrying on the job, that they are put on the list for random drug checks. That's what you're asking. Okay. I would consider possibly recommending, maybe instead of taking action on a motion today, we put together a
Comprehensive
package.
package.
or take action to create a package that's gonna lay this all out and bring that back.
I agree. I think that'd be.
Because stuff like that, we need to.
Right.
That could be a handbook issue.
Well, here's to be honest with you,
Everybody.
I had a conversation with Dale Frett 2 weeks ago over a different thing, and this came up because ACO actually writes the handbook and puts out these directives. And I asked him what their policy, were they going to use waiver, what were they going to do since this became the law effective November 1st. And it was the first Dale had heard of it. They were not aware this law had passed, and they were going to have to jump on it and get with legal and decide how they are going to handle it from an insurance standard and a handbook standard.
So along those lines, Troy, if you wouldn't mind also sharing with the group, with the board, the comments made by ACO about our previous implementation of in our work on the firearms
Yes.
for carrying for public officials.
In that conversation, it was brought up the waiver that we currently have in place for those employees that work out in the field. So it's really, 3 years ago, we implemented, first county in the state to implement allowing employees who work outside of the office buildings or the card house buildings to be able to carry. One of the things is they had to sign a waiver. That they're, basically they understand that this is on them. Dale said that when I had sent him that waiver 3 years ago, they ran it through all of their legal, who said that we had went over and above what they felt was necessary in trying to protect the county and using the process that was put in place with that waiver at the time. So I think we're in good shape based on that.
I thought that was interesting because there was a lot of talk when we first did that well, if ACO comes back and, they're going to come back and say, you shouldn't do that, and they're going to take our insurance away from us. And when quite the opposite thing happened, they looked at it and said that we were actually better than what we needed to be as far as their insurance look was. Okay, so, yeah, go ahead.
Just as an FYI, Commissioner Christopher Redding from Payne County had contacted me about this same issue. Well, not this issue, but with the county policy. And so they've taken our policy and our waiver, and last month they adopted fully. So ACO's going to get hit with this, I think, on several fronts.
Well, what has happened, you have to remember, at the time we did ours 3 years ago, there was no law that addressed it. The law said that there could be no gun in a courthouse, period. And therefore, that's why the policy was just those that worked outside of the actual offices of the county. Now, the first law was to allow elected officers to carry in the courthouse buildings, and now the new law is for employees. So that really has opened up a whole different level of what ACO and the counties are going to have to deal with, because it is now statutorily addressed.
I'm surprised they didn't know it.
So back to our point of order that Troy raised. So I would like to take action to at least acknowledge that we're going to move forward with this. And it sounds like maybe the sheriff's office and the county clerk's office would get together and put a template together on the process that we're going to follow, and to include some of the things that we've talked about here, the drug policy and all the other things. And in that light, Troy and Damon, how much time would you guys like? I mean, it doesn't have to be our next meeting, okay? But
Well, I know she's getting into the busy time with budget year and stuff like that, so.
So let me ask this, how soon are you all ready for your training classes?
I was thinking probably trying to, like we were talking about doing a test run with you guys. I could probably do that, in June or September.
June's not gonna work.
All right.
The law is effective November 1.
How about September sometime?
Okay, so the law is effective November 1, so if we had everything in place by Marvin, with budget and all of that time of year, as Damon just pointed out, we are in a crunch time. So
Yeah,
how
I
about
get
this?
that.
How about if we have till August the 1st to try to put together a policy for this board to review? And then at that point, that still gives us enough time to tweak it if we need to, plenty of time. Then we can schedule what we're gonna do with the training. Damon, does that work for you?
But still, if it's policy, it needs to be in the handbook. The county policy, so would not the full
Okay,
officers have to address this?
no.
No, because it's in statute.
Okay.
Because it's in statute.
And here's the reason. We're talking about creating the policy that implements this statute.
Okay.
Will there be something created to end up going into the handbook eventually that'll address it? Yes, but it's going to be a two-step deal. And as far as the handbook approval, yes, will they end up, but I'm also kind of waiting to see what ACO does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I think if I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is really just more how we are internally going to implement and policy this.
So I motion to acknowledge that the Board of Commissioners and the County Sheriff has the intent to implement House Bill 2527 in Logan County, and that we will come back on August 1st to do a policy review that will be developed by the County Sheriff and the County Clerk.
I'll second that.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say aye.
I said aye.
Motion passes without objection. Thank you all. Thanks, Sheriff Don. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Don.
Item 9. Discussion and possible action concerning the establishment of additional Logan County 522 ambulance district, including proposed school districts to include the new district, and review the draft referendum language that will out for vote.
I made
Monty, you
these
asked
for y'all to
that we talked about this again, and
Well, we just need to have it on the ballot by,
there you go.
what I say, August? If there's August, we have to have it to the election board?
Yeah, I think so.
Here's a copy of a draft referendum. Okay.
I guess the first thing we need to talk about is what areas are we going to include? I mean, my thinking was Covington, Douglas. I think we ought to include everything that's not covered, which would be Covington, Douglas, Mulhall, Orlando, would be Coyle,
and Parkins.
Coyle.
Luther, and what else is up there?
Wellston,
Wellston,
right.
and isn't there a little slither in your district that's not covered?
Not really.
A little bit of Perkins, I got like a spit of Perkins, but
I mean, I'm just looking at my district.
Well,
I want to make sure they got
spit as
ambulance
well.
service. So if y'all got something in your district,
Well,
our
that little
residents out
sliver
there.
you're talking about is also covered by IMSA, so it's, I mean, they take those runs. It's not a big deal.
I guess my question, would it be time to include it though while we're putting something on the ballot while we get a piggyback? Would be my concern.
Well, you can't, I guess, there's a part of that that is, and there's a part that isn't. So it would be interesting to, so what you're looking at here is, I think, 106, right, 104. There's just a section sliver down there. And then that school district, the Edmond School District, also jets out into that in different areas. So how would they get an opportunity? We would have a vote on 106, but only the people that lived in that one little bitty area could vote on it. And I mean, is that what we're talking about? Is that what you were talking about?
I guess that's how it would work.
Right.
Anyone that don't fall under 522 now would have the
I
opportunity
mean,
to
I've got all
vote.
this on
Well,
207.
I'm not sure I would support that. I mean, because there's a lot, there's several districts in South County that that aren't in a current 522 district that don't need to be in one because they've already got ambulance service and they don't need an additional tax.
Well, like I say, the ones I'm most concerned about's in my district,
I would,
which is Covington, Douglas, Coyle,
Yeah.
Mulhall, Orlando.
Mulhall, Orlando.
Let's call Langston in.
So
And
then,
I got all this down here,
Mike,
southeast.
I show you got Perkins,
Yes.
Tyrone,
That's
and Wellston.
EMS supposedly.
So the question would be, what is that, Luther School District down there?
Both the school district.
Now, Luther is in kind of the same shape as over
Right.
in the Edmond School District. There's some that aren't covered in the IMSA area. So I'm not sure how you do that.
ENSA has responded in there, but it's generally Guthrie, is it not, that goes into that far southeast area. And then we have a little bit of Edmond that comes up there from, about Anderson.
But when we're talking about the school district, we're talking about the school district that lays in Logan County.
Right.
So,
I'd like to include those.
So do you want Luther, is that a Luther
Yeah,
bid? You want
school
Luther in there?
district.
Okay.
And that's right there where Perkins is too. Perkins just comes in on Simpson right there, just a little tiny spit right there. And, Wellston, and then Perkins over here on this very east side.
and I really don't, we're not imposing a tax on anybody. We're just giving an opportunity to vote on a tax. So I just want to point that out.
I understand. But I would also point out that the folks in my district, I've had talks with a lot of them, and they're not interested in having a different ambulance service. They're happy with what they got. They've got ambulance service, and they don't want an additional tax.
So how would they have an additional tax? Are they paying a tax now?
Not a 522 tax, they wouldn't be. They're paid, but they are paying for their ambulance service.
But let's say we get this on the ballot and it approves. We'd have a whole new 522 board, and they would decide who's going to cover what. They might contract with IMSA, and Guthrie might be plumb out of the picture. I don't know. But they might contract with Guthrie to do it all. I don't know.
That's it, but I think that little oak tree, what is that, Oak Tree Estates or something right there, that they have Edmond Electric in, and so they pay
They pay for their ambulance through
Yeah.
utility, through a utility.
right through
and-
their utilities, through their electric.
And there are several of them in there that do
Surcharge.
that. Also down in the Deer Creek School District's the same way.
So they want to stay on that.
So, yeah, they do. They do. They're happy with what they got, and
Okay. So then we're talking about Wellston, Perkins, Mulhall, Orlando, Coyle, and Covington, Douglas.
Perkins,
And-
Tyrone,
Luther. Yeah, I forgot Luther.
Wellston, and Luther. Yeah.
But, yeah.
I say we send it to Logan, let him write it up.
There you go.
Get it on the ballot.
Is that a motion?
That's my motion.
Have a motion, have a second?
And I'll let you.
I can't second my own motion, but I would if I could.
I'll vote. So I don't second it, it just does for lack of a second.
That's what it sounds like.
Normally the chairman wouldn't vote unless there's a tie.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, have a motion and a second.
I like the 3 mils.
All those Ma'am, any further discussion?
I just think that we need to clarify specifically what this motion's going to be. I know what it is, so
Okay.
I can verbalize, or
So,
you can.
The motion is to include the school districts, Covington, Douglas, Mulhall, Orlando, Coyle, Perkins, Tyron, and Wellston, and the Luther school districts in a proposed 522 district resolution to be placed on the ballot 1st of November for vote by the people. That's,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes without objection.
I really think we should have included the other two, but
No,
that's just my opinion.
Can I, you mind if I say something on that real quick?
Go ahead.
I agree with Commissioner Goodman on this. I don't want the whole thing failing because that chunk down there doesn't want to change.
Right.
You know, they do have a good service right now. You know, a very small neighborhood pays it on their utility bill, but they've got a good relationship and a good service, and we work well with them. At this time, I think it's probably the best course of
and
action.
it's a very highly populated area.
And they voted.
And they could carry,
they well could,
they could
yes.
defeat the whole thing.
Yes.
That's a fact.
And I appreciate all you guys working on this. I know it's been a long time trying to hammer it out.
Thanks, Eric. Any other discussion? All right. So we'll move on to item 10 here. So we put this back on the agenda, discussion and possible action concerning the ODOT Oklahoma County and Logan County I-35 Waterloo Transportation Project. I won't read the whole thing because we've had it on there. I've been in contact with Daniel Gwynn from ODOT, and
Yeah, good man.
so I've been in contact with Daniel from ODOT, and they are going to have that contract back to us by the time we have our next meeting next week.
Monday or the 15th?
Monday. That's what they said. They would have it back Monday. The reason for the delay was once Oklahoma County saw what Logan County was doing, Oklahoma County goes, wow, that's a good idea. And so we want to put some of the same language in there. And it seems that the ODOT attorneys are okay with it. So it looks like it's going to pass. They're getting the language back from Oklahoma County, incorporating that into both sides for Logan County and Oklahoma County, and getting the blessing of the ODOT council, and they'll get it back to us for action next week.
Okay, so that was the reason I'm asking. Is that agenda will post when this meeting is over?
Yes, ma'am.
So will it just be this item?
Yes, ma'am.
Again?
Yes, ma'am. That would be great. Item 10. So we'll table that until next Monday.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on item 10? All right. It's tabled until next Monday. Item 11, consideration and possible action on approving resolution entering agreement between Logan County and Oklahoma County for widening of Waterloo Road from Air Depot Boulevard, Pine Street to Douglas Boulevard and replace Bridge 7A. The estimated project cost $3,150,000, with Logan County providing $150,000 and Oklahoma County providing $3 million.
Well, it's a good deal for us.
No, certainly. Most of that's going to be built on the Oklahoma County side.
That's correct.
Right. So that's a part of it.
There's two spots.
Yeah, I love it. No
So-
problem here.
What's the time frame on that, Mike?
No, what, 4 or 5 years probably?
Yeah, they're talking now that it'll
Something like
most
that.
likely go for ATCO funding, so it'll get on the list and it gets picked whenever it gets up to the top, so.
ATCO's got funds?
Well,
Yeah.
that's why it's 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's only like
ACOG.
450. ACOG, you mean?
ACOG, I'm sorry.
ACOG.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I need to go down and talk to the guys at ATCO if they got money. Normally, they're just asking for money.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion on that.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 12, consideration and possible action on approving a resolution accepting $500 donation from Eric Holzball to District 2 for gravel to be placed on Dewberry Drive.
Is that a county thing?
Yeah, that's a county maintained road.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 13, consideration and possible action on approving a resolution accepting $1,000 donation from Paul Lloyd to District 2 for culvert and road material placed on Arcadia Circle? Or is that? Court. Okay.
That also is a county maintained road. I'm building a
I'll make a
real nice
motion.
house back
I'll
there.
motion we approve it.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 14, consideration and possible action on approving a resolution accepting $50 donation from JTP Consultants, H.L. Pettit, Harvey Pruitt, and Tracy Pruitt. Total donation of $200 for District 2 for asphalt to be placed on Willow Creek Drive.
Maxine Pruitt's husband. There. And, yeah, we help them maintain their road. It's a county maintained road. I make the motion we approve.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Consideration and possible action on approving a resolution accepting $477.60 donation from Francisco Gonzalez to District 2 for culvert on South Red Bud Lane.
Man, we got plenty of South Redbuds, seems like. But yeah, that's a county maintained road. And
So when do you have
They've been
time to
needing
work
one
on
for a while.
Sampson and all the county roads?
make the motion. To accept.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Would you like an answer to your question?
No.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection.
That's just my argument when we accept these roads for maintenance. I mean, that kind of takes time off of the roads that we're supposed to be taking care
I
of.
kind of agree with that. Kind of.
Traffic counts.
But I got a whole bunch of that dumped in my lap that I inherited when I took over. Item 16, consideration and possible action on approving resolution entering contract with Waste Connections for disposal services for District 2.
I'll make the motion on that. We're changing trash services. Cheaper.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 17, consideration and possible action on approving a resolution accepting refund of $18.60 from Tulsa Renaissance Hotel to Treasurer's Office and deposit refund into Treasurer's account 0600-1310.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 18, consideration and possible action on approving detention transportation claim in the amount of $1,173.36 for March 2018.
I'll make the motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 19, consideration and possible action on approving detention transportation claims in the amount of, again, was this on here twice?
Yeah, because
Different amount.
your clerk made a typographical error. This was the April claim. So you all can acknowledge the typographical error, or I can put it over to Monday.
So we'll change on item 19 for March to April.
April 1301.
April 2018. Is it the same amount?
The amount is
Yeah.
$1,301.09.
Do what? The amount is what? 1,000.
130109.
130109. Okay, so item 19, as changed, consideration of possible action on approving detention transportation claim in the amount of $1,301.09 for April 2018.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Hello.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes without objection. Item 20, consideration of possible action on approving State of Oklahoma Purchase Card Program linking authorization with Bank of America for participation in state PCard program.
Okay, so the board took action a couple of weeks ago to move ahead with obtaining a PCard. This is the next step in the process. The credit limit has all been approved with Bank of America in the total amount of $20,000. That can be changed later. That was just a figure that I and the bank talked about as a good jump off starting spot. So this linking authorization is basically the contract with the board, with the county and Bank of America for carrying of the card program.
I move we approve. It's be such a great option for all of us to be able to buy off of the internet and all sorts of different things that aren't available to us now that save the county a lot of money, I believe.
We're still working out all the processes, but it will be a good thing.
Yeah, I made a motion. I'm looking for a second.
Well, be more convenient, you're gonna use something like that.
Me? Probably so.
I guess I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 21, following up on that, consideration of possible action on approving the purchase card policies and procedures manual as prescribed by the state auditor and inspector's office.
I sent the manual out to y'all to glance over. That's straight from the rules and the regs for this PCard program as set out by the state. There's not necessarily a signature on this, just an agreement of the board to the policy and procedures manual as prescribed by the state.
Well, I read over some of it. I mean, some of it's okay, so there's parts of it I didn't like, but I mean,
Which part?
I can't remember now. But I'm not gonna throw a wrench at it. So I'll move with approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
If I wrote it, I'd write it a little different.
I didn't write it either. The
I-
state did. That says enough right there.
My point exactly.
Any further discussion? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 22, consideration of possible action on approving designation of purchase card holders and transaction limits.
So the board, because of the manual, you know, the board is required to actually designate who can be in, with a PCard. This program is being set up and designed to be worked in a very tight little box for internet purchasing and travel, and not wide range employee possession of credit card. There are rules. You have to have gone to training class before you're even eligible, et cetera, and so on. So as it sits right now, myself, my assistant purchasing agent, and Tracy Johnson, who's the payroll clerk and also works on purchasing, have attended the training to be designated as the three PCard holders. The program is strictly at this point intent is for internet shopping and reservations for travel. It will not be, run down to Harbor Freight and buy a tool. It can be purchased online, through the requisitioning process, but it's not going to be for out brick and mortar shopping. Also, what's required is the total card limit be designated. The total card limit is $20,000. the law and the guidelines from SA&I sets out a single transaction limit of 5,000, except there are some exceptions like utilities if we were to use it for that or some other things. So this is designating these 3 persons with a total card limit of 20,000 because that's all the card limit we have at this point anyway.
But for them to buy something, they still gotta go through gotta get a PO.
Oh, absolutely. It will not change that process at all. The only change is, will be procedural in that your requisition will have 2 parties because you're going to name Amazon as the PCard vendor, but all the checks are actually going to be paid to Bank of America. So we're going to have a little shift in that, but it will still take a signed requisition to get us to use the card on your behalf.
Are there any restrictions on what cannot be purchased with PCard?
The law, I mean, in the manual lays out things like, cigarettes and beer and alcohol and tobacco and those kind of things, which we couldn't use whether it was on a PCard or so basically, if you're not allowed legally to buy it with a requisition through the purchase order process, you're not legally allowed to buy it with a PCard.
Okay, makes sense.
So we had employees plural possibly that went somewhere and had to spend the night and all that, they would have to take this class, or
Okay,
how would that work?
so if you have an employee going to a training
Overnight.
class on an overnight,
Doesn't happen hardly. Go ahead.
but you know that ahead of time, you put on the requisition, we will then use to make the reservation. That's part of why I went ahead and pursued getting into the PCard on this very limited, because most hotels that we deal with for travel are getting harder and harder to accept a PO. They want that credit card reservation. The cards by law and by structure of the program cannot be used by any other person than those 3 names right there. So it's not like you could send your employee and I say, sure, take the card and go. We will have to make the reservation through the requisition process, call them, and we do that. They're not legally allowed to take the card.
Right.
For anyone to have a PCard, that yes, by law, by statute, they will have to attend the classes before they're even eligible for this board to consider giving them a PCard.
Sure.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I move with approve.
okay,
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 23, consideration of possible action on the resolution appointing requisitioning officers for various accounts.
I just have for the DA's office.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes without objection. Item 24, consideration of possible action on resolution appointing receiving officers for various accounts.
Just one for the DA's office.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 25, consideration and possible action on approving the following permanent road crossing permits for Oklahoma Natural Gas and Great Salt Plains Midstream LLC. Simmons Road, 4 miles west of I-35. Simmons Road, 4 miles west of I-35. Looks like section 27, 15 north, 3 west, section 34, 15 north and 3 west. That's a 3/4 inch gas line. 6 inch gas line parallel to Simmons Road, 4 miles west of I-35, US 77, 33 west. That is section 27, 15 north, 3 west. Also across South Kelly Avenue, 4 miles west of I-35 at section 26 and 27. of 15 North 3 West.
Can you repeat them again?
Yes, I could. Did you rather read them?
No.
Let's see, Great Plains Midstream, cross of east 690, 1/8 mile east of north 2990 in section 19, 18 north, 4 west. Then there's a whole bunch of 6-inch and a whole bunch of 8-inch. If you guys want to know exactly where they're at, you're welcome to come up and read this. Or read it yourself.
I did yesterday.
Did you? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay if I don't read the rest of it. I'm starting to get hoarse. Unless the board demands that I read it. We're gonna
Hey,
talk.
Dan, or Don Runoff?
Yes, sir.
If we did that training, where would we do it at?
Or got your range.
This is the exciting part.
It's the best part.
Hold the money.
Yeah, evidently they didn't realize they could have wrote one to,
Well, it's kind of like those days here on Logan.
isn't it?
Did you say good old days?
Yeah,
We're old days. Hey Damon, while we're sitting here playing sign the sheet, I got an update from ACOG that they're starting to install stuff up in your tower up there for the E911 system.
Yeah, they've been running cables, working on getting training set up for communications people, doing that all.
They were talking like it wouldn't be too long before they're able to turn all that stuff up.
Yeah,
Good.
surprising how fast they're doing.
Hard work, somebody got to do it.
Wait on me.
Yeah, I'll move we approve the road crossings.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 26, consideration and possible action on the consent agenda.
Payroll. Transfers. Mike, you need to sign that one in the other place as well. I think that one's yours.
quick stop, really? I'm just kidding.
Good piece.
Snack's about to fall over.
End of the year.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
Donut time, huh? Here's the sirens.
How come they shut down that Missy's Donuts division? Anybody got a clue?
They don't accept the P-card.
You're quick.
That explains it.
Real good reason.
Guys is probably too hard to keep up with.
The sheriff got good credit there.
That's right. No more donuts at Missy's.
I think they had a hard time keeping help, maybe.
Only 2 stores a lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
Not how they got the business. I could stop. Somebody which way it comes in. I did that one out west, honestly. Maybe one out west.
How about the hospital? Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, right about the bird sure.
What they are putting that new little building in there.
They sure got a good chicken salad sandwich. Got pretty good donuts, okay? Something else too.
My granddaughter's fond of those apple critters. That's what she calls them, apple critters.
Very good. No account. New account. Sheriff's revolving fund.
This goes round and round.
Election board. With Marvin and alcohol beverage alcohol.
Oh, 11,763.
What was that, Chris?
No PCard.
Kind of off our game over it.
that's it for consent.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 27, consideration and possible action on approving claims for payment for 2018, May 2018.
Is that one yours?
No, Woodcrest.
Okay, so Woodcrest will sign that.
Okay.
They didn't have any of those for you today.
Wow. With a blue star by my name.
Now, I'm not saying you don't have any in that pile, you just don't have any of those blanket signatures today.
Oh, okay. You had me all excited there for a minute.
Health department's got a few.
They found some money.
I don't know where they found it.
30 million?
Go out there and see out where the account.
There's several people that's interested in getting that CIRB money back from that stash they
I was wondering if there wouldn't be a lawsuit or something on that.
That refund to do you any good?
see.
Well, it did. That's a nice machine.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I got another project for it. You gonna rent it again?
Maybe in a year, 4 months, say
You ought to
yes.
rent
We
it
done?
a couple months. I'll move we approve.
All right.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without objection. Item 28, any citizen desiring to be heard? Hearing none. Item 29, comments, announcements, questions by the Board of County Commissioners. Okay, I have a couple items. First of all, the Civics Plus, the new website that we're standing up. This is the roles and responsibilities that was set into Civics Plus. If anybody's got any objection to that, we can add it back to an agenda item for Monday's meeting to approve or to talk about. Other than that, I think we've already approved that Troy would take the lead on that, and that's kind of what that indicates.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, you were talking about adopting roads and neighborhoods and things like that. When one of the things that hadn't come to the board yet, but will be in the next month or so, is we've been working on a cooperative agreement through Lowell's office that would allow the county, allow a district, road district, to accept funds from a neighborhood that we haven't adopted their roads yet, but be able to accept funds and enter into a cooperative agreement to use our manpower and equipment to work on their roads, but without adopting the roads in perpetuity as far as being responsible for them. They would pay for the materials and we would furnish the equipment. And that way the county can provide some assistance to them without forever and ever accepting responsibility for the maintenance, ongoing maintenance of those roads.
These are public roads only, I would assume.
Say again?
Public roads only.
Yes, well, I mean, most all roads.
Platted.
Most all roads where a postal truck or a school bus goes is a public road by definition. And so that's kind of how that works as far as the term public road goes.
So even behind, like if it's a gated community, you think the law still allows you to go in that?
Well, I don't.
Because postal trucks go in there, fire truck, I mean.
Yeah, we're
Emergency
gonna have-
services go in there.
That's the problem, is somebody's gotta give you access to that neighborhood. So it wouldn't be, just in my opinion, from a law enforcement perspective, is if it's gated, it's truly a private road. You have to have approved access to go down.
And that would be,
Right.
yeah, that would be something that law would determine. I think that's probably right. But, you know, Lowell being our representative at the DA's office would give us an interpretation on what the definition of public-private road. I think he's talked about it a little bit, but yeah, I think if it's a gated community, that wouldn't be. If it's somebody's long driveway, you know, a 1.25 mile driveway back to their farmhouse, that's not necessarily a public road either, because they've got their mailbox out on the right of way, on the county right of way.
Long driveway,
And the
2-3
bus.
houses, whatever.
Anyway, I thought that was an interesting compromise that we were able to look at. So we don't have to adopt roads to help a neighborhood from time to time if they're willing to foot the bill for the
Yeah, I know
materials.
a commissioner who, if there's ambulance and that kind of service that goes down that road, by golly, school bus or anything like that, then he will maintain it. And he's got a few private buses that he also maintains. He's been commissioner for over 30 years, so who knows?
So an ambulance goes down a leaf road every once in a while.
Yeah, there you go. Ambulance, school bus, you know, whatever.
A fire truck cut a fence too, and I mean, that's not considered a public road, but you know, during emergencies, all bets are kind of off on
And
this.
as he said, you know, it's up to your DA. What does
What's
he?
that?
That's an interesting spin on that gentleman.
Yeah. But I'll try and bring back at our next meeting kind of the references to the statutes and all that stuff that we were looking at, and Lowell helped us out with. Anyway, any other comments, announcements, questions by the Board of Commissioners? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on item 30.
I'll move it adjourned. I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.